Let me first welcome you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm so very glad. We are honored to have you with us and to shed light on your, based on your immense experience and your very candid opinion, which other people don't tend to share.
Yeah.
So very extremely grateful to you. And we hope that the inputs from you, your thoughts will help us to understand both the causes of the communal conflict as well as how these could be managed and the various constraints that fall in the way of civil society people. So on behalf of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, on behalf of my colleagues and myself, sir, once again, welcome you to this. Now I would ask Nashra, who is the youngest member of the team and who has been in touch with you, to raise the questions that have been bothering her for quite some time. So over to you, Nashra.
Thank you so much, sir. First of all, definitely thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for this and speaking with us. I'd just like to first explain a little bit in terms of what the project is about so that you can also understand the paradigm we're working in. What we're largely doing is that we've identified 7 areas which have experienced conflicts in the form of riots in the 80s and the 90s, and some even in the 70s. And what we're trying to study is not just the causes of those conflicts, but also the conflict resolution mechanisms that were put in place as to how the society got back to peace, which is what we're trying to see if a model can be created out of it, if a similarity can be found in different areas as to what largely works within the masses to make them get back into a state of normalcy. Definitely one of the most important perspectives when we spoke to different actors has been the role of the police and what they can do and what they are not able to do due to certain factors like lack of preparedness, or whether it was definitely something that they did not know the society would actually harbor. We wanted to understand from you as to what do you think, first of all, is the idea and the sort of understanding that the police force largely has in terms of the riots when they break out. Is there a sort of a chain that is created of, okay, this is going to happen and this is the approach we're going to take, or is it just a measure that they take? So just because of your vast experience in this field, we'd like to know and hear from you what you specifically feel about that.
I joined the force in 1953. Of course, a couple of years we were under training, but say from 55 onwards, I was on job. And the instructions given to us at that time about communal conflict was that put it down with a heavy hand. No sides to be taken, and you have to put it down with a heavy hand. Whoever may be that was on the basis on which we used to work. And we use minimum force. That was another instruction given to us. If you can do it without any force, so well and good. If you can do it with a little force, well, that is also acceptable. Then if you have to use maximum force, that if there is no other way, then you please be very careful how you do it, because it will cause a problem, a maximum force. So if a person is brought down, so we try to see that just one person being brought down disperses everybody, then it is fine. So this is how we would go about it. But anybody who just keeps on firing and killing people, that was certainly not on. And we always, the senior officer always ensured that that was on. And the instructions given to our men was also similar. Now, over the years, I've seen that a lot of, with democracy and people being coming, normally in the old days, when I joined, the policemen were not that educated. Now everybody is educated, and everybody knows, is interested in the political scenario. That happens. And they might be personally taking sides. And there was always a feeling that in Bombay city, which was the biggest city as far as Maharashtra and even the country is concerned, there was a feeling that the Shiv Sena had got quite a hold over our policemen. But my own experience was that if I was quite clear in my mind as the leader, and that I gave instruction that this is what is going to be done, I've never seen one case where they departed from the instructions given to them by their senior officers. Now, if the leader is a little shaky and doesn't give proper instruction, then you have a problem. The problems have arisen more because of that. And the choice of leader is what really matters. And that choice, unfortunately, is just with the party in power. And that is what makes a lot of problem because party in power sometimes chooses leader not with the intention of helping the people. They were supposed to do that, but they do it out of their own concern, their party concern, and their sometimes individual concern. So we have to, the whole thrust of the police reforms that have been ordered even by the Supreme Court has been this, that we should depoliticize the police and ensure that the leaders are properly selected. Now you have seen in Bombay City recently that what a big mistake has been made in the choice of the leader. And this is a very clear example. And this is what we should avoid. So I don't know, I've got my own views about it, whether the public is willing to join me, I can always do it. But unfortunately, my age is against me now. I won't be able to really be so active as I was earlier. Yeah.
One of the findings that we got was that when the riots broke out in Bombay, after that, you had initiated...
Which year you're talking of? 1993?
Yeah, 92 after that.
92, all right. Yeah.
So you had initiated a sort of a reform in the form of some committees that you had created, Mohalla committees. So if you could tell us a little bit more about what it was, how it functioned, it would really give us an insight.
See, I was away from the state from 1985. That is when I was the commissioner of police from 82 to 85, little more than 3 years. And in May 85, I went off to Delhi. Then I was in Ahmedabad, in Punjab, in different places. Then I went as ambassador to Romania. So I only came back in 94, back to Mumbai, January 94. Now, 92, these riots took place. I was in Romania. And we used to get our our mail once a week. It was the diplomatic bag. And we used to get our newspapers. So we read about it. And I was quite ashamed that my city of Mumbai, where I was born and where my great-grandfather settled, he settled from Goa. We were originally from Goa. But I said, so I consider it my city. And I was really surprised that such a thing could have happened. And why, there was what would you call it? Examples, you could call it example. There is a word for it, precedents. There are precedents in what you should do to avoid this kind of conflict. And I have personally done it in Ahmedabad, where I think within 7 days, I was given 4 months. I told them I require 1 week. And I think it was done in 1 week. But it requires political will and it requires a good leader. Now, if you don't have that, then you have a problem. So when I returned, Mr. Khurakiwala, who had been the sheriff, he had started some Mohalla committees movement here in Mumbai when he was the sheriff. And he asked me whether I would take it over because he was getting old. He was older than me. So I said, yes, I would do it. And then I got Sushobha Barve, MRA lady from the MRA. And she was the leg, she had a lot of work to be done, leg work And that she did. And and Shobha and I rather, we went and met the police commissioner, who was Satish Sani. At that time, we were lucky because the police commissioner was very receptive. And what the police commissioner told me was that even the chief minister, Mr. Sharad Pawar, was worried. He had tried to approach the Muslim community, which had become alienated. And he understood that a 15% of the population of the city being alienated was not good for the polity and not good for the police also. But it was really a headache. It is not something you should understand. And he tried to approach them, but they were not willing to talk to him. So they said, so the police commissioner said, if you, sir, can get us to talk to them, we would be very grateful. So we set up a meeting in Mahim, from where many things started. And we had marathon meetings, 2 marathon meetings in 2 successive days, starting at 6 in the evening, going into one first day till 10 o'clock. Second day till we made it little less. And then, they were not first, they were saying, Mr. Ribeiro, we have faith in you, but we don't want to deal with this government. I said, look, it's not the government or anybody like that. It is for this city and for the people of this city. We have to ensure that people understand each other, because they have to understand each other. You see, many of the problems arise because the politicians in power or out of power, those who want out of power want to get into power. And those who are in power, they want to retain it. And then they incite these feelings of communal feelings, because that ensures very many votes. Votes are done on basis of religion, of caste, of community, of language. There are many such things that in a multicultural society like ours, it goes on and on. So we have to sift the real reason. And if it is the politicians who have told them to get into a fight, it is they who benefit, not the poor people who get into the fight. And most of the killings took place in the slums. And in the slums, you have only poor people living, at least comparatively poor. And the persons who have benefited are not those who live in the slums or who fight. So we explained that to them. We went to all the slums which were affected and got good people from those slums who were not politically inclined, but who were interested in peace. And we chose such persons. So Shobha did a lot of work for that, I must say, because she got all the people on board. And we, of course, gave them the police support, because the police support was very important. It's not only the Hindus and the Muslim leaders of the slum areas, but also the police, because they know that if the police are not with them, then they have a problem. So to have the police on that side. So we made a contact between our Mohalla committee leaders and the police, and we ensured that the police were given information about communal harmony, which was credible and not based on other considerations, particularly party considerations. Because party considerations would mean that they want more trouble, and we don't want that. So we were made sure that we were totally apolitical, and that the people who joined us also were apolitical. So this is how we operated. Incidentally, I told you about the 2 marathon sessions. They were all men. The Muslim leaders whom we met were all men. And then the Mr. What was his name? He was a former minister. He told me that you will also have to talk to our ladies. And that we also felt that we had to. And he said that some of them are Pardanishin, etc. So only you and Satish Sani, that is the commissioner, may please come, don't bring along the others. So we said, fine. So the two of us went and we listened to them. We were very shocked, and even Satish was greatly, and he said it won't happen in my time, definitely not. But even after that, I don't think this would happen again. So only when the ladies were satisfied, then we started the Mohalla Committee movement. Incidentally, the Hindus felt that we were only talking to the Muslims. So we had to correct that also. That is another problem. So we told them that the ones who are alienated are the ones that we are more bothered about. But we don't want alienated people. You know, the police in Mumbai used to get a lot of informers from the Muslim community. That was stopped. And that was the one of the things that the police understood, because they also had to understand why they should be involved in this. And commissioner is different, but the rank and file is different. So we have to sort of motivate them also to be in it. So this is how we did it. And I think we succeeded to a great extent. And even today, the Mohalla Committee movement does exist. It is not so active now, unfortunately, because what they were telling me the last time I met them was that the levels of hate have increased. That has they never felt it before. And that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. And I think those who are responsible for it should understand that it won't help the country at all. This is if they feel that will help them to get votes, that may be true, but not to help the country. That doesn't get help when people don't trust each other. They should, yeah. And there is cause on both sides to compromise. I mean, yeah, there is cause on both sides. You have to be. There are many things that both communities should come halfway. Yeah.
So could you just sort of explain this last part? When
Yeah.
You say both communities need to come together to compromise. What exactly? Compromise on what?
I'll tell you many of the things that, a lot of people felt that we were only helping the Muslims, that this Mohalla Committee is a Muslim organization. It was not. It was only trying to get everyone together and to create peace in these slum areas. Now, there was one group of Muslims, and one of the ladies was even one of our important workers, who wanted at the time of the Bakri Eid, to get permission to slaughter even the big animals in their own residential area. They get permission to slaughter small, the goats. Goats, the permission used to be given. But now they wanted for the big ones. Because, there are poor people who can't afford to sacrifice a goat. So they went to the court and they said that Mr. Rivero can be the arbiter in this. So the court agreed. So they asked me, so I said, all right. Then I went into the whole thing. And I felt that it was not a very responsible kind of demand. And it would cause a lot of problem, particularly to the health of people, including the people who are living in those areas and the poor. And that was the reason why the Brits in the colonial days shifted the abattoir. First it was in Crawford Market. It was shifted to Kudla, and from Kudla to Bandra, and finally from Bandra to Deonar. So the reasons were given. I went into all those files. So I said that this is not on. We should not do that. So they got very disappointed. So they called for a meeting with the chief minister. And the chief minister invited me. And I also told my reasons why. You know, there were all the Muslim gentlemen got up in one lot and they started shouting. I was really surprised. So I thought that this is something which I had recommended on the basis of common sense and for the basis of communal amity. There are many things for it. I think a lot of problems arise, Mr. Ghosh, because of when people really believe that theirs is the only true religion. Even I belong to an Abrahamic religion, like Islam, and we are always thought that ours is the only true one. Well, I don't believe that at all. I think that all religions are explanations for the unknown. Nobody really knows how we were born, how we came into existence, where will we go. And we are told by our clerics that this is the truth and all that. But I think that we who think, we should not be taken in. We have good people. I mean, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, they were good people. And they really taught you good things. I mean, something is good, something is bad. And what is good should be followed. What is bad should not be followed. So this is, and the principles of every religion are the same. Where is the difference? I have not seen anybody saying you should kill, or you should tell lies, or you should rob people, or you cheat with your neighbor's wife. I mean, nobody says that. I don't think there is any religion which advocates such things. And yet they fight. And they fight over whom. I mean, whether you call God by this name or that name, it doesn't really matter. I remember Mother Teresa once, you know, I was the ambassador in Romania, but Albania was also given to me from as a concurrent charge. I used to go there. So Mother Teresa was an Albanian, and I was having lunch, my wife and I, with the foreign minister. It was Rais Malile. And, you know, he suddenly had somebody coming in and whispering in his ear. And he informed me that Mother was on her way to Romania. And she wanted me to come with her. So I said, I'm also booked on that flight. So please tell her, yes, I'll come. In any case, we were booked on that flight. There was one flight only. We had to catch it. So she told me that there was no religion in, you know, though 70% of the people were Muslims originally. The dictator, who was the son of a mullah, his name was Anwar Hoxha. Now, Anwar Hoxha had made the country officially atheist. He said, you want to pray, you pray in your own house, but there is no prayer and the mosques were made into all sorts of, you know, museums and things like that. And the churches, 30% people were Christian and originally. So theirs was made into what? Basketball courts. And my wife has seen those courts, so she's telling me basketball courts and volleyball courts in some churches. So, and there were a lot of, you know, place. The churches were a little bigger. So they were given. So,
no, just a moment. This was in Romania or in Albania?
Albania. Romania, there was no problem. They were all Orthodox Christian. Oh. Romania is an Orthodox Christian. They follow mainly those. They also don't have any pictures like the Catholics have. So anyway, that's a different matter. But Mother told me that those boys came to her and they wanted her to inaugurate a mosque by cutting the ribbon. So she went and she cut it. So I said, Mother, you went and cut the ribbon of the mosque? She said, yes, why not? They are praying to God. And if they pray to God, I'm very happy that they are praying to God. whatever name they call it, they are praying to God. So I was quite impressed by that argument of hers, because I never thought she would do it, and she did it. And she was very popular because of all that. Yeah.
One question. You use the term motivated. You know, the police force also needs to be motivated.
Yeah.
Now, considering, of course, for a moment, let us forget about the sheer amount of hatred which has, come about the communities. Families have been literally divided vertically, absolutely. Families, within families, where brothers and cousins have virtually stopped talking with each other. So somebody is in favor of, one, another one. You understand that. Now, if we were to go back to, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, then at that point of time, when the police force wasn't so, what I would say politically sensitized, how would you be motivating them? Apart from the leadership, example that a top officer gave, how would you?
Yes, certain element of low level, you may not call it, it is certainly not hate, but a certain low level of distrust between the communities is as old as the hills. It never went off really. But then it was never so apparent as it is now. It's being encouraged, I'm sure. I really don't know why it has come to this pass. Even among civil society, people who are educated, you will find that it has been divided now.
If we were to go back 10 years back, or even more than 8, 9 years back, how do you motivate the police force? Because I'm not very familiar with the Maharashtra one, but as you would be knowing, sir, the PAC of UP, it is considered to be highly communal.
ID?
The PAC, Provincial Armed Constabulary of Uttar Pradesh.
PAC, okay.
Generally, it is considered right.
Because of one incident that took place here. But basically, I'll tell you very, very, very authentically.
Yes.
That it all depends on the leadership.
Okay.
If the leadership tells them what is to be done and what you cannot do, it is always followed. I have seen that. If the leadership is weak, unfortunately, you have to first motivate or instruct, or you may say even, whitewash or brainwash, rather, brainwash the leaders and make them understand that you belong to a secular country. This country is made up of, my goodness, so many different communities and castes and religions and what have you. And you cannot really afford to have people, you have to try and unite them at least on some basic principles. And you have to ensure and that law and order, which is the duty of the police, has to be enforced very impartially and very, very, in the same manner for all. That has to be, and they should feel it. It's not only saying, but you have to actually, you just can't say, sabke saath, sabke vikas, and don't do it. I mean, you have to do it. When you do it, it will be understood. Okay. People understand. They are not fools, I can tell you that. People understand everything.
But sir, coming from you, it was extremely reassuring for us from our action point of view to learn that it is wrong to presume that the PAC or any such thing is inherently communal or any such thing. So if you have the right leadership, you don't have as much of a problem.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have a question. What I saw in Delhi recently, what riots happened in East Delhi. Yeah. One of our extended family friend, he is the head of a police station in East Delhi. Okay. And during that time, he used to tell us that he particularly pick up some of the one community people and he beat them. Daily हमको story सुनाते थे, हमने आज इतने उठाए, इतने मारे. Have you faced that? क्योंकि मुझे उनकी बातों से ये लग रहा था he can't take a neutral decision कि वो तो एक biased तरीके से काम कर रहे हैं. Have you faced that or how to tackle this situation?
No, but this is the leadership. No, if the leadership is very clear, that you can't do all these things that he wants this done. But unfortunately, in Northeast Delhi, at that time when those riots took place, I think they had got instructions or what. There was really a lot of injustice that was being done. In fact, I wrote to the police commissioner of Delhi, and I pointed out to him that that we have taken an oath to the constitution. You can't do these injustices. And he replied to me, giving me a wrong, roundabout story. But he didn't reply to my main query as to why he did not pick up the people who actually incited the violence. And they had we had made speeches which were recorded on the television. And one of them was the minister. So I said, you should take action against those, because we are being trained to catch the correct people if you want to put down riot like this. So it is a fact. So if there was that what you have noticed is obviously because they have been told, and I think that is very wrong, and it's a wrong policy because it is going to backfire at some time. Yeah.
So one of the questions that I had was that when you were speaking about how, people would speak with each other in the Mohalla committee concept, how is it that after a riot, when people have seen so many things happening in front of them or may have lost someone or the other, that they want to revert to peace? Like, how do you make that transition and not go to, say, revenge or anger or all of these? So what is the relevance of communication? What sort of communication are we talking about? Like, what did you discuss with these people?
After all, the Mohalla committee movement was based on communication only. You have to communicate with people, make them understand what are the real problems involved, the real issues involved. I mean, is it to their advantage or is it to their disadvantage? Who are the people who are telling you to fight? What is the reason? Who are they? Are you gaining anything or are they gaining? Now, I remember when the 2002 riots took place in Ahmedabad, there was tension over here. So I personally went to Dharavi, where our Mohalla committee people over there had called all the women, because at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the men won't come, they are at work. So only the women, we got the women, and that is much more important. We got them together. There were Hindu women, there were Muslim women. Many of the Muslim women were in their parda, and many of the Hindu women were in their traditional they were fisher folk. They have their traditional costume, and they held hands. First of all, they came up on stage and said how they had suffered during the riots, and how their menfolk had been taken away and just by the police, etc. After that, everybody suffered. Who gained? They gained nothing. So after they had said that, all of them held, one Hindu lady, one Muslim lady, they kept, and like that, they held hands and said, we will not allow our men to fight. We will ensure that our men don't fight. If somebody comes and instigates us, we will not allow them to go out. So that we use this same tactic in other slums. And I think that is how we could manage to stop any kind of rioting. The police understood that we were helping them. Because if there is a riot, the police don't think that they are very happy about it because they can't go to sleep. All that happens if they are busy with this kind of problem. So we can use all those tactics, and we are members of the public who are doing it, with, of course, the help of the police.
So one thing that I wanted to ask, and this is more of an opinion, if you were to do something today, like say establish a certain peace committee or something, a similar model with the police or with any other factor, what do you think that can be done in the present situation? Like with, say, a lack of leadership support, what is it that can still be done to ensure that some sort of harmony is established between communities?
Now things have become a little more difficult, I agree, because even my like Mohalla committee members have been telling me that the extent of hate between people, distrust has increased. That's unfortunate. We thought it was coming down because of our efforts. So it is not going to be good for us, but we cannot leave. We cannot stop our efforts. I told them, you can't stop your efforts. You'll have to go on and on, hitting at it. And fortunately, we have worked for so many years, not 25 years. So then they have understood, and they have the new workers have to come, have to be formed. And many of the old ones have now gone too old. So that goes on, but we cannot give up our efforts. We have to continue to do whatever we can from the civil society point of corner to ensure that they don't get the better of us, that those who want conflict, who want people to fight, they should not get the better of us. We are trying.
So I have a follow-up question. What Nashra asked.
Yeah.
In all these, so explanations and the descriptions that you gave, a couple of things come out very loud and clear. The quality and the role of leadership in the police. That's paramount.
Yeah.
The second thing is that if it is right, if it is decisive, then the police force in general, the constability, they will go along with you.
Yes, of course.
The third thing which I see is that in all the description that you gave, I mean the Mohalla committee and all that, the police, played some role, an active role in bringing it. Now, is it possible for Mohalla committees or peace committees to function effectively without the help of the police? Suppose the police...
Without the help of the police?
Without the help.
Not so. I don't envisage that they... You see, because then they'll have another opponent. It's not only communalism, but even the authorities. So that would not... You'll have to have them on your side.
It was a very important question to get clarification on, because then in our whatever we do in the model that we sort of implement in different places, of course we'll have to fine tune them. So one cardinal learning from your experience that we gain is that whatever structural mechanisms we form, peace committee or a Mohalla committee, which is, they must have the blessings involvement of the police.
The police has to be on board. They have to be on board.
They have to be on board. Okay.
We used to call them for our meetings and other things. But they shouldn't feel that we are doing any anti-government work. Not at all. We want them actually to help them. And they were quite convinced that we were doing that. After seeing, they came for all the meetings. We used to send this to them. When we had our meetings, we called them also, and they would remain present. Yeah.
I have one question regarding Mohalla committees, sir.
Yeah.
10 years ago, maybe the Mohalla committee may be more effective as of now, or you still think that it is that much effective? Because 10 years ago, if head of the family used to tell us कि हमको वहां पर वोट देना है और पूरा फैमिली वहां पर वोट दे देता, आज तो हर रोज डेली डिनर टेबल पर फाइट होता है, नहीं कोई मोदी को सपोर्ट करता है, कोई किसको. Is that still effective, the Mohalla committees, or it is just a Mohalla committee?
Well, at the moment, I have also gone on in age, so I'm not going. I used to go to the slums and even take my wife along with me, because we used to go at about 7 o'clock in the evening when the men were back from work. But now I don't go at all. I've not been there for the last 5 years or so because age has caught up. But there are others, younger officers who have just retired and who feel like us that there should be peace, and they go. But I don't know. They feel that things have become a little more difficult for them. That they do tell me it's become a little difficult for them. And also you have to see whether the big man, the police commissioner of Bombay, whether he is also on board. If he is interested in other things, like you have read in the papers, then of course you have a problem. But so this all depends on that. I'm sorry, but we have to deal with it as it comes.
Right.
Yeah. The only way we could do it is probably keep on badgering him with letters and things saying that this is happening, that is happening. Yeah, that is what we do.
Okay. Don't you think, sir?
We don't give up. That is another.
Don't you think for the younger people, sports is the way of connecting them? If sports, yes. If some event is organized between in a area, the all will play together. It will help or not?
See, the Mohalla Committee movement used to organize a big every year cricket for peace tournament with a softball, because these boys they don't have they used to, and we used to put the age limit at 23 or 24, so that after some time new players came up, and they used to then we used to induct them into our work also after they had finished the tournament. So we used to do that, and in every team there had to be people of the minority community also. Suppose the majority community is Muslim, then there would be some Hindus in that team from that area. And one police officer or policeman. That was very important. So we had that. In fact, in one case, I remember a deputy commissioner of police also took part. He became the member of the team. So we had all that. We tried our best. Sports does bring people together, and we ensure that it was a mixed team, and it does bring. So we do our best in whatever way we can.
Yes, thank you.
The idea was given, I think, by Sushobha Barve about this cricket for peace. He said cricket is such a such a popular game everywhere, and everybody knows about it. And there used to be huge crowds coming to watch the play. And we used to always get a big cricketer to preside over it, to give away the prizes. Sachin has come, then you're here, all sorts of, everybody you name them from Bombay has come and given away the prizes, and it's a great draw, the final. It used to be like that.
One thing that sort of bothered me in the demographics of a city and how they are changed when a riot happens. So say, for example, if before the riots, there were mixed colonies. So when a Mohalla committee was created, it was created bringing both sides together and they would speak with each other. But after the riots, one of the most important things that happens is that there is a divide, that ghettoization sorts of happens. How did you work on getting a common space or a common ground for those communities to come together, given that they're living in different areas? So now they don't have any idea of what a Hindu is like or what a Muslim is like.
Oh, okay, I will add a sub-question to Nashra's. The ghettoization is actually the outcome of some communal conflict. So let us say that Nashra and I, both of us are living in her family and my family and so many others. They were all mixed people, mixed communities. And a riot takes place, and Nashra's community goes to one place, my community goes to another place. So this ghettoization is the outcome of a communal conflict. So given that context, how would you operationalize it? That's it. I'll make it slightly more. Yeah.
After the big riot, of course, this gets accentuated. But the fact that people want to live with their own community is even earlier than that. They may not be a result of a riot, but normally people try to gravitate towards their own. So because their culture is same, then that now, for example, in Mumbai, there are a lot of vegetarian families, communities which are vegetarian. So they don't want non-vegetarians in that thing. Now, I stay in a society with all police officers who are retired from the IPS. And we have no problems at all. Nobody asks what you eat and nobody asks anything except that you behave yourself and this. And we have a Muslim officer, we have a Christian officer, that is me. We have 4 scheduled castes, and we have the rest of them are Brahmins and this. The Brahmins are about 3 or 4. We have got a full mixture, and everybody goes on, is very, very integrated. But that is because of our old, service, because we all belong to the same service. So I think this service does integrate people. But there are some things you will not be able to tackle. For example, this Jain society, a big Jain society. If you want to get into that and make it mixed, they won't allow you. And I think we should not even try. Because if they don't have enmity or hate against others, that is good enough. They should not hate other people. For what are you hating them for? They are human beings like you and me. If they are worshipping God in some other name, so what? What is your problem? Unless you are in any way troubled. If you are not troubled, don't make an unnecessary song and dance about it. So there are many, you see, we have to be very sort of level-headed about these matters. And unfortunately, and I think you must start in school. I'm a member of another NGO besides Mohalla Committee. It's called the Public Concern for Governance, where we are fighting corruption and things like that. We use the RTI to a very big extent. And we have problems there also because the government does not like the RTI, though it boasts about RTI but doesn't like it. So now we train we go to the schools, all municipal schools, private schools, aided schools, and try to teach the young children, because that is the best time to make them that they have to live with everybody else and not go according to religion or caste. Caste is also a big problem. So these are things, we have a lot of problems, but we have to try, and there are NGOs that would like to address these problems, and we are trying our best to do so. So in each one, if everybody tries in his own way, I think it will help.
Okay, the learning that I get from this last part of it is, Mohalla committees are fine, but you also need to do multiple other activities that tend to be supportive of each other. Like, for example, you talked about the sport, you talked about that you remember for another NGO which does the work, you talked about using RTI, you talked about going to school, catching hold of children. And it seemed to me that even the so-called ghettoization that Nasha talked about, you're saying this is an old thing, and it need not be necessarily looked at like that. Not necessarily, although they may be, because people tend to live along with their own culture. Similar thing.
Like perhaps now, for example, I visited London quite often, and after I retired, it's one city which I used to visit. Not now. I've not traveled for 5 years, but before that. And I found that people going from here, they also have been going and staying in areas where they have their own co-religionists or people like that. Sikhs are very prominent in some places, and Tamilians in another place, Muslims in another, Christians even from Goa, I've seen congregating, because at least they know, they feel that they have some support, social some support. So that happens.
That happens.
I don't think that we should bother too much.
This is a great learning for us. For example, I'm a Bengali, supposed to be a Bengali.
Yeah.
Now, just because I mix along with Bengalis, which I don't, doesn't necessarily mean that I am anti.
Yes,
others.
Exactly.
And doesn't necessarily mean that I am anti-Indian either.
Yeah.
Sir, I want to add in this. Me and Nasra, some time back, visited the East Delhi area where the riots happened. We spoke to n number of the peoples there, and all of them said कि ये दंगा हुआ नहीं था, करवाया गया था. Local people were not indulged. Then one of people said कि हमने अब वहां से अपना घर बेच दिया है. We asked क्यों बेच दिया है? They said कि we are in two different mohallas. When one riots happened in there, the police doesn't allow us to help them. कि वो कैसे, तो उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा कि वहां पर लोकल्स जो हिंदू उनसे हमको डर था, नहीं, उन्होंने कहा जब हम पे मुसीबत आई हम एक दूसरे की मदद नहीं कर पा रहे थे, तो अब हम चाहते हैं कि हम एक दूसरे के आसपास रहें, अगर फ्यूचर में कभी ऐसा कुछ हो जाए तो हम एक दूसरे की मदद के लिए रह सकें या उनको अपने घर पर बुला सकें. उनका मेन कंसर्न ये था, उनको लोकल्स जो दूसरी कम्युनिटी थी उससे डर नहीं था. उस डर की वजह से उन्होंने घर नहीं बेचा था. उन्होंने घर बेचा था कि अगर हम मदद की जरूरत पड़े तो, क्योंकि पुलिस अलाउ नहीं कर रही थी उधर जाने के लिए, फोर्स आ गई थी, तो मदद नहीं कर पा रहे थे. तो एक रीजन ये भी निकल के आया था जो नसरा भी थी वहां पर, कि क्योंकि हम एक दूसरे की मदद नहीं कर पा रहे तो हम चाहते हैं कि अब आजू बाजू में ही रहे, कि बहुत डिफरेंट उसमें ना रहे.
You have to bother. I mean, I can't give you an answer to that. I mean, it all depends upon you know the situation in which you are and your own ability to solve it or to do something about it. Yeah, I remember during the riots, that Gavaskar, who's the cricketer, who stays somewhere down the road from me, he saw a Muslim family being surrounded by some boys, and being, you know, the boys were hitting the car. He went running down and chased them, and he gave them such a big shout, and he apologized to that family and the family. I saw that also happening, but he could do it because he was Gavaskar, and the fact that he arrived, when they saw him, they all ran away. Otherwise, one man without any arm or any this, and these fellows with their sticks, they could have, if anybody else, they could have beaten him up also. So this
another example of leadership.
Yes. Okay. I think we have discussed quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of learning actually, a lot of learning.
Yes.
And thank you, sir. Thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Yeah.
Indeed, very grateful to you, sir. Thank you.
you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.